We can't also talk about the economy without talking about external reserves. As the government, as the CBN, been able to grow the external reserves, even though the external reserves aren't exclusive to the federal government. Oh yes, external reserves have improved from $28 billion to approximately $47 billion. And so can we give that a pass mark? Oh yes, we can, certainly we can. But external reserves, like I said, isn't just owned by the federal government. A large portion of it is really held and owned by the central bank. Now, there's another argument that, oh, the PDP looted. But what it is that the PDP succeeded in some areas. But the evidence also shows they failed in some areas, just as the evidence, Chamberlain, is showing that the APC is succeeding in some areas and failing in some areas. So it is not a fact that the PDP was all bad. Neither is it a fact that the APC is all good. For instance, when Obasanjo came in on May 29, 1999, external reserves was $4.9 billion. This same bad PDP government grew the external reserves from $4.9 billion to $62 billion as of September 2008, the highest in the nation's history. A bad PDP government grew external reserves. How does that sound? But again, that is the statement of fact. External reserves genuinely grew and hit the peak under PDP. But does that mean the PDP is free from corruption? No, it doesn't mean so. And so again, let's look at what a non-partisan watchdog talks about corruption in Nigeria. Now listen carefully to this. Transparency International says in the last year of the PDP government, Nigeria had a corruption score of 2.7 over 10. That's an F9. That is a statement of fact from Transparency International. 2014, the last full 1 year, 2.7 over 10.
Any improvement this time?
Exactly no. Transparency International's last rating last year says corruption score in Nigeria is still the same, 2.7 over 10.
Despite all the efforts?
Oh, despite all the efforts. And clearly what it means is that what is going on in the media is different from what global bodies are saying. And again, all this is verifiable information. They are statements of facts. Again, people argue that external reserves genuinely had also declined under the PDP government. And let me explain what the external reserves really are. You should drive in the new Mercedes-Benz E350 Chamberlain. The 2018 one, it's really good.
I'll tell you if I've driven it when we'll come back from this break in a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back. So, Jide, conclude the analogy.
So I was asking you if you'd driven the 2018 Mercedes-Benz E350.
And where were you headed with that?
You know, the thing is, when you want to buy a car, there are three things you consider. You consider the engine, the body, and you could also look at the stability, the shocks. And so, but the first thing is the engine. Regarding the economy, it's the engine, it's the economic growth that is the most important. It's the economic growth. So just as the engine is to a car, economic growth is to an economy. The second thing you look at is the body. How nice is it? And just as the body is to a car, so is corruption to the economy. If the body doesn't look good, you don't buy it. If the country doesn't look good, investors don't come in. And the third is the stability, the shock absorbers. Now, to an economy, the shock absorbers are the external reserves. And so even though the car's shock absorbers are important, even though the body is also important, the engine is what we talk about. Is it a V4? Is it a V6? Is it a V8 engine? And so when the government makes a promise that we'll be growing at an average of 10%, and we're currently moving at below 1%, then we have a challenge. We have a challenge because when Buhari declared in 2014, he talked about a new Nigeria. And a new Nigeria simply means all things are passed away. I talked about Nyota, the only president who's never complained about the previous administration. His name? George Washington, and that was because he was America's first president.
So if there was somebody else, he would have had
So it is complaining about troubles is everywhere in the world. Once a government is in economic trouble, they complain about the previous administration. Only George Washington had no one to complain to. No one to complain about and no one to blame the problems on. And so the president today shouldn't see himself as Nigeria's president. He should see himself as Nigeria's first president, just as George Washington was the U.S. first president of the U.S. And so if we can get ourselves, and the government can get itself to that position as seen as we're a new government, a new Nigeria, no one had been here before us, we'll be able to move faster. And in the final analysis, the most important thing is for us and for every government to take contract enforcement seriously. Because that is the most important ministry we need today. Contract enforcement and ensuring that promises become contracts and those promises are fulfilled.
Not forgetting that the people ultimately will eventually decide. Well, that's where we let it go. Thank you very much indeed, Jide Ogunsanwo, our data analyst. We'll see you all next week. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
I'm Gimba Omar. See you.
Enjoy the rest of the day and enjoy your weekend. I'm Neo Taigbe.
Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
Have a great day and a great weekend, everybody. I'm Juri Ngilale.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this program are those of the maker and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, and endorsement of Channels Television.